Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, MBC Lifestyles Diary. My name is Marie, I live in New York, and I love fashion, travel, and cultural events, and I'm asking you to join me on the adventure.
We are leaving the Corner Hotel in Barcelona and we're heading to the airport. We're on our way to Palermo, the capital of Sicily. So, in planning this trip, I chose Sicily because of my friend Harriet. In 2023, we had gone out to dinner with her friend Lisa, who had decided that she was going to celebrate her birthday in Sorrento. And we were invited, and this all sounded wonderful. So Harriet and I started talking about hotels and the places that she would go, and she wanted to go to Taormino, Sicily. So because of my health crisis, of course, I was unable to travel with them, but it remained firmly planted in my mind. I wanted to see Sicily. So a lot of people said, hey, were you inspired by White Lotus? And the answer is no. It was thanks to Harriet that we went on this wonderful trip to Sicily. To plan our trip, I started researching Sicily, and it's fascinating, and there are many layers. But the one thing about Sicily is how many people occupied it. So it starts with the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians are originally from Lebanon, Syria, and Israel. So that's the area that this group of people came from. Then came the Romans, the Arabs, and the Normans. And the Normans were called that because they're known as northern men who came from Iceland and Denmark, but also they're from the French. And there were also the Swabians, which was a Germanic tribe. Never mind the fact that the Greeks were also on the island of Sicily and considered it one of their outposts. And in the region of Argento, there's some very well-preserved Greek temples, better than even in Athens. So as you can see, there's a lot of different cultures that intermingled, and it shows in the architecture. And that architecture, for instance, has the Arabs who started building mosques in 827 AD. And then you have the Baroque style in the 16th century, Art Nouveau. Spain also had a hand in occupying Sicily. And my research even discovered that after World War II, the Sicilians wanted to secede and join the United States. So it's quite complicated. But the fact is, the people are interesting and the architecture is interesting. You have the Baroque architecture, you have the Belle Epoque architecture, the Art Nouveau, which makes Palermo a feast for the eyes. We stayed in a beautiful B&B called Vittorio Emanuele, and it was situated right in the heart of all the activity in Palermo. We were pretty happy with this find, even though the neighborhood as we drove up to it looked kind of sketchy, but it turned out to be exactly where we wanted to be. And of course, right below was this wonderful restaurant called Selina's.
Oh, wow. Oh, so it just bursts out in your mouth. Like, this is seafood.
It's just not gone. It's okay. It's okay.
Selina set the bar for what we expected food to taste like on the island of Sicily. We were like, oh my God, we have not had fresh seafood anywhere in the United States. When I bit into the calamari, I could still smell the sea. It was so delicious. And basically, by the time we finished filming in Sicily, we were tired of going, oh my God, this is so good. How are we going to go back home and eat now? In this restaurant on display was the fresh catch of the day. My husband picked out his fish. It asked for it to be grilled. And then after it was cooked, the waiter came and deboned it at our table. And in that white cup, is a wonderful sauce that would be poured on top. This was really delicious. Our server was Paolo, and he gave us excellent service, and I felt like I was in a Michelin star restaurant. It was beautifully decorated. There was wonderful ambiance. Later that night, we went to walk around on the main street where there were a lot of restaurants and activity and music, and explore where we were. And everybody started complaining that 2 days in Palermo was not enough. But I was like, hey, I was doing the best I can. And when you read up on Sicily, you know, Palermo, they tell you, yes, it's a great town and everything, but I had to prepare them that it didn't look as polished as maybe Florence or Rome. Everyone will tell you that for a long time, Sicily was not a tourism hub. They said like for 30 years, the influence of the mafia was very heavy. So infrastructure was not very strong. Maintenance was not key. And after much evolution, the popularity of Palermo has started picking up. So we went for a walk, and this area, which was right outside our door, very much reminded me of South Beach in Miami, just because of the vibrancy of the space. I did pat myself on the back for picking this B&B, Vittorio Emanuele, because if you walk to the left, you went to the Four Corners, which is what you're looking at now, which was a major tourist site in Palermo. We also went by the Teatro Opera House, and in the center is the Palazzo de Normandy, the Royal Palace that started in the 9th century. There's the Capella Palace with the Byzantine mosaics. So there was a lot of interesting things to see, all within walking distance. And remember, I wasn't good at walking. Right now, we're looking at the Patreon fountain. It was designed in Florence, disassembled, brought down to Palermo, and reassembled, but allegedly it was reassembled not according to the original design. It was still beautiful. So many sights to see. We're looking at a place called the Cesi de San Cataldo, and you could see the Arabic influence there. There's so much. There's a Cathedral of Montreal. There's the Royal Palace and the Palatine Chapel. I mean, the best suggestion I have is for you to get a guide to walk you through all this beautiful architecture and give you the knowledge of what it was based on and when it was built, because there's so much to see. It is a feast for the eyes. Then we went to a restaurant called Sud, and we decided to try some of that famous Sicilian pizza. That also was delicious, and Palermo did set the standard for what we expected in our food as we traveled across the northern part. So here we are again in the streets, which are vibrant with vendors and food and shops. And like I said, it was so interesting in detail that we couldn't stop snapping pictures. I do wish we had stayed longer. So we're going to the Teatro Massimo, which is the opera house. And from there, we're going to take a hop-on, hop-off bus because I was wilting at this point. Sicily is hot, even in September. The Teatro Massimo is the opera house, and it's also famous for being in the Godfather film. The interesting thing about Italy is that it did not get unified or become a country until 1861, which was the start of it, and it was finally unified in 1871. And this was done under Victor Emmanuel, which is known as the Unifier, and which is why you see so many things named after him in Italy. Some more history about Sicily. The Phoenicians settled it in the 7th century BC, and the Greeks tried to conquer but failed. The Romans were finally successful, but with the fall of the Roman Empire, some other attempts by other nations were done in trying to conquer the island. And the people that were successful were the Byzantine fleets of Belisarius in 535 AD of the Eastern Roman Empire. It was the influence of the Byzantines that gave us the Capella Palatine square with the Byzantine mosaics. So this is on the hop-on, hop-off bus, and it takes you by the water so that you can see more of the different structures. But as I said, there was so much. I wish I had a guide to just point out the buildings to me and tell me specifically what the influences were. But it was gorgeous. I think here we're passing a grand garden. We also passed the royal palace. But Palermo is really an aged city. As I said, you feel the layering. And as somebody once described it, Palermo or Sicily is like an onion, and you keep discovering things as you peel back the layers. In 2018, Palermo was named the Italian capital of culture. Here is the famous fish market, or not fish market, one of the largest markets in Palermo. And on some tours, they would recommend that you go here. But I was quite content to see it from the hop-on, hop-off bus. And quite honestly, I didn't hop off much.
Alla derecha il Palazzo Real de Palermo, all'interiore la Lasciateria Palatina, all'izquierda Villa Bonanno.
After our tour on the bus, we ended up back at the Teatro Massimo, where they were giving tours of the building, and there were still concerts and operas being held there. But I enjoyed just sitting in the cool lobby and looking at the beautiful design of the staircase. And
sti sirene. Date, che voglio tanto bene, ma volesse rovata. E tu di tua parto addio, allontane da sto cuore, ma stato erra dell'amore, chiaro cuore non torna. Ma non me la so, non dorme sto tormento, torna sorriento, come ancora. E tu di tua parto addio, allontane da sto cuore, da stato erro dell'amore, chiaro cuore non torna. Ma non me la so, non darme sto tormento, torna sorriento, come cantare.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up and remember to like, subscribe, and share.